So now back to today. Today is a different world. America is a different place. It's much harder to get people to combine left versus right about any principle at all, maybe even about the enslavement of blacks if it's not done by white people, okay? So today there are, I'm going to say, the most scandalous, politically incorrect sentence imaginable. Ready? Okay. Today, there are 5 countries in Africa where blacks are owned as chattel slaves by Arabs and Muslims. I said it. It's true. It's true in Algeria, Libya, Mauritania, Nigeria, and still Sudan. So let me just go through a couple of these, and then we'll get to what we're doing now. So in Mauritania, CNN estimated that between 350,000 and 700,000 blacks are owned by Arab Berbers as slaves in that country. That's between 10 and 20% of the population. This enslavement began with the jihad, the original jihad of the Muslim world in the 8th century when the Muslims overran that part of Africa and converted the Africans to Islam. So think about this now. Think about this. There are today about 500,000 black Muslim slaves in Mauritania. Louis Farrakhan runs away from them. Their existence threatens his enterprise. These people are passed down through they're owned, bought and sold, rented, given away as wedding gifts, passed down through the master's estate when he dies like his furniture. These slaves are beaten, bred, raped, horrifically tortured. If we have time in the Q&A, I can tell you. And if you've eaten your dinner and digested it, I can tell you about some of the tortures. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. 500,000 people, maybe more, enslaved because they're blacks, And the human rights community, the giants, they run away from it. They run away from it because it doesn't fit with their narrative that it's white people and the West. That's really the sinners, right? Okay, and in Sudan, even after the jihad attacks stopped against the black Christian South, they ended in 2005, and Sudan became independent in 2011. There's still slavery because during the war, tens of thousands were taken, and there's still, it's estimated about 35,000 remaining. And CSI, John Eibner and CSI are back at it again. People should go look up CSI and help them. They're back at it again, redeeming those slaves. Okay. Now in Nigeria, I mean, everybody remembers, I think, Michelle Obama's hashtag Bring Back Our Girls. And that was when, just like in Sudan before, Muslim jihadists, these are Boko Haram, these are Fulanis, have a war against the Christians. And it results in the use of slavery as a weapon of terror. And when in 2014, when Boko Haram kidnapped almost 300 Christian girls from a school in Chibok, Michelle Obama was moved to launch her famous hashtag Bring Back Our Girls. That lasted a minute and a half. I don't know why she dropped it. I have my suspicions. It was too politically incorrect. It was Muslims doing this to Christians, to Christian blacks. Wow. So anyway, today, many of those girls were released, but still many are owned as sex slaves by their terror masters. They're married off if they can do it. If the jihadis can marry them off to, and they're forcibly converted to Islam. So they're concubines, Muslim concubines. In more recent years, since then, Boko Haram and the Fulanis have captured, kidnapped hundreds, if not thousands of more school children. They hope to make the boy slaves into child soldiers and the girls again into concubines. One slave who gained worldwide attention, recognition, not as much as she needs to be recognized, is Leah Sharibu, who was kidnapped with more than 100 other school kids from her town in Dapchi in 2018. She is still there. She's maybe 20 by now, 22, I'm not sure. She refuses to convert to Islam, and she's vowing to remain a Christian, and she's a slave. Okay, the last two countries, Algeria and Libya, they're in the north. So as Africans are fleeing violence and jihad in the center of the country, in sub-Saharan countries, they travel north, hoping to get to Europe. As they pass through Algeria and Libya, they're captured, they're bought and sold. CNN in 2017 did a story about an auction, and CNN has a video of this, of two black men auctioned off by Arabs in Libya, sold for $400 each. So, you know, as I said before, since it's politically incorrect to condemn non-white societies for human rights atrocities, especially to condemn Muslim societies for human rights atrocities, and Annie, you know this about the women's issue, these crimes just go unnoticed by the people who most could do most about them. I mean, imagine if Amnesty International really wanted to free the slaves. I mean, they could march in Wall Street, close down Wall Street, free the slave. They could do a BDS. They could do anything. Ben and Jerry's could say, we're not selling ice cream to anybody who's ignoring the enslavement of blacks today, but they won't. But there are some Africans in America who have have become hell-bent on freeing their brothers and sisters in Africa. And that group is the Nigerian American diaspora here. Now, the Nigerian immigrant population in America is very special. They're some of the most successful people economically and culturally. They're doctors, lawyers, pharmacists. They're at a high economic plane. They're smart. And way back home, their people are being jihaded and enslaved. And they came together and they organized something, a committee to free Nigerian slaves. You should all see freenigerianslaves.org. And they have started to ignite an anti-slavery movement. They have had 3 marches. In April, they were in Minneapolis. They were asking Ilhan Omar if she would help to free slaves from Islamic captors. She, of course, didn't answer their plea. In early June, they were in Omaha, Nebraska, and just now in late July 24th, last Saturday, they were in Newark, New Jersey. These are wonderful people. I know some of them. There's Dr. Shayo Ajiboye, who's a Mission Africa International. He's the president of that. Stephen Inada, who heads the ICON International Committee in Nigeria. And there's this lovely, lovely woman, Dr. Gloria Puldu, who's the president of the Leah Foundation. That's for Leah Sharibu. And Leah Sharibu has kind of become the poster person for this movement. So I would want to urge all of our listeners to do a couple of things. I mean, and then we can open it up to questions and answers. But first of all, get to know about this. I mean, this is a world historic thing. We are in 2021 and blacks are bought and sold. That's despicable on our watch. Just as a human being, forget the politics of it. As an abolitionist, which we all are in our hearts, got to do something about this. It's horrible to let the so-called human rights community, which I believe is a total fraud, just pass this by. We should do something, and we should help these Nigerians. Secondly, I think everybody watching should understand the deep the deep truth about how the enslavement of blacks in Africa by Arab and Muslim populations can bust open the entire narrative of the left, the entire critical race theory, the entire intersectionality. It's only because they're able to ignore these serious, ongoing sins committed today that the left can focus on American sin, Western sin. That can be switched. That we with this movement that is holy, that can and should use American power to do what Americans have always done, which is to free the slaves.